Good afternoon.
Yeah,
What's
technically,
up?
it just became. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Real Austin Video Podcast. We have one of our very own, a family member here with us. Adriana, welcome.
Hernandez.
Yes, we're so
Hi.
happy to have you from Top of Show. We always just chat about how we're doing. While we were waiting for David, we caught up a little bit. I was talking about the stress of what's been going on in Texas, and it's been hard and hard to think of much else. So that and the saga of Kayla and her apartment continues. I feel like this is like the soap opera version, the soap opera portion of the thing. She has an apartment now, which is great.
Yeah.
And is gorgeous. But she did not hire a reputable moving company when she moved out of her last apartment. And now they're basically, they didn't do a good job. So she doesn't want to use them again, but they've got her items in their storage. And they're basically like trying to hold it hostage.
Oh, wow.
God.
It's bad.
It is.
It's so bad.
Sorry to hear that.
So yeah, so she's very upset. Adulting is hard. That's just been our saying of the week. But I'm actually trying to get my dad to help us out because David has met my dad. My dad has like this booming voice. He's got this like presence, and people don't generally try and push him around. So I was like, maybe call your grandfather. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, so that's what's happening around here. Liam finished school. He's officially now a senior, but if I talk about it, I'll cry. So I should not talk about that. But yeah, and then my Zach show, our first ever musical theater company performance called Believe, goes up next weekend, not this weekend. And so we start dress rehearsals on Sunday, and I'm so excited. If you're interested in seeing it, let me know. It's going to be amazing. So that's what's going on in Burritt world. How about you guys?
Go ahead, Adriana. Shoot.
Same old kids, work, life.
Yeah, you have the worst boss and
Job.
team ever.
Well, yeah,
when you said work, I'm like,
oh my
please
God.
tell us a little bit more. How is that going? I mean, I know personally, I used to work for somebody and another company, and it was just, sometimes you don't have the best job or the best. You see Adriana's little eyes like, is that a Morse code?
She's saying send help.
Yeah.
Just help me.
Get me out. Please. Just when I go. No, it was a good week, right, David? What do you think? We're getting like many clients, which is amazing. You both are rock stars. I admire you both.
Marketing. Yeah, we have really good. It was a really good week this week.
Yeah, the marketing.
Under contract the first weekend that we brought them up. So
yeah,
it's been busy, and I think it's gonna keep on getting busier and busier and busier. But it's funny because the market is changing over here in Texas.
Yeah,
still a seller's market, but it is changing. I mean, we're noticing it day in and day out.
Quickly, I'm shocked at how quickly it's changed.
Yeah, and we'll see once the Feds, if they raise the interest rates again, we'll see what happens there. But it's going to be an interesting next couple of months for sure. I'm excited because this is when people need the realtors, right? They need to talk to an expert that knows what's going on in the area, whether you're selling or buying. Because if you're selling, well, obviously you want to know exactly what's going on. You don't want to put your house on the market for top dollar and then really not get any offers at all. Mm-hmm. And then on the buying side, you need to know that, hey, you're starting to leverage little things here and there. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Hi, baby
girl. Oh my
But that's what I think.
It's another guest that we have.
Hi, Juliana.
Hi, gorgeous. Hi. Hi, Juliana.
Take care of this shit so I don't have to take care of it myself.
Yeah.
Look at her.
Needs to be carried.
Oh.
And because today is our topic is about single parenting. This was not planned at all. I mean, no, she wasn't planned. But what I'm trying to say is that this episode, her here right now, was not planned at all.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it was last minute. I just didn't want to have her crying back there. So
It's okay.
No, it's great.
It's amazing.
By far our most beautiful guest.
Of course.
he farts a lot, so be careful.
Oh, great.
Shotgun.
Oh.
Shotgun.
She's gonna love to look back on that
I
and
know.
see that her daddy pointed that out to the whole world.
It's a farty.
Actually, Tom used to use Kayla like a squeak toy. Like she would just be super gassy, and just depending on how he held her, she would. And so she like hates when we tell those stories now. It's hilarious.
The kids.
Oh, I know. It's
Your
very
kids.
fun. Well, we do have a lot to talk about today, but David, tell us a little bit about our community highlight this week.
Oh man, I have this community highlight. I have this amazing person. He's actually a person who started out his company for painting. And the reason why I wanted to bring him on board for the highlight is because this guy, he's a really hard worker, right? He's not one of your top fancy companies that is out there right now that charges an arm and a leg. Basically, his name is Ubaldo. Hard worker. He wants to show what he's able to do. Great prices. He's known for his quality work. And I just want to make a quick introduction, let you guys meet him. And then eventually, I mean, we use him for some of our, when we have a house that we're bringing to the market and, you know, we need touch-ups here or there, we need some fixing of the sheetrock, whatever it is, this guy will come out. He's always accommodating as far as schedules, and he does an amazing work for our clients. So if you ever are busy, if you can't paint I'm so sorry. If you can't do the work, paint, give us a call. We'll put you in contact with our contractor, and you'll be so happy you did. I mean, he's an amazing guy. So roll the clip. What's going on, guys? We're over here at Austin Colony. This house behind us, actually, we're going to be bringing to the market. It's not the highlight yet, but the highlight is actually the contractors that we have inside. They're the painters, and we brought them into this house because it's not a flip. It's actually the owner just wanted to get it ready. So we got our contractors in here. Osvaldo is the painter, and he's actually, I want to make a quick introduction with him in just a second. But just really quick, something that I wanted to mention about Osvaldo is that he is an amazing worker, a hard worker, humble, down to earth, and just wanted to make a quick introduction, shoot him a couple of questions, and see what you guys think. All right, here we go. So the house is actually occupied.
See? How's it going, my friend? Good. Okay, I'm gonna show you the little things. The little can do it.
Okay. So let's start it.
Come in right here. Let me show you right here. Just put the roll, put a little bit paint like this, and then come to the walls right here. And do right here the spots. That was white, black spots. You can do like this, little bit, and then go like this.
So
If that was the same color, you don't need to go all the way to up. You do it like this.
So this one is not the same paint. It's not the same color. The owner didn't get the same type of color on this one. It was different.
Okay.
Which makes it a little bit more difficult for you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So before you start painting, make sure that you match the paint. If you bought a brand new construction home, you can actually go to the constructor warranty company, and they can tell you the actual type of paint that they got for the house. Otherwise, make sure you match or even grab a little piece of the wall, so you can take it to whether it's Sharon Williams or what's it,
PPG, Kelly Moore.
Any of them, take it to them so they can color match that for you. Any other little tips, Osvaldo?
Well, the first thing, just match the right color. Just take a little bit of a piece of the wall, take to the store, and they're gonna match real good. And then start rolling. Just you're gonna see a mark, and you can use a primer with. You have a black marks. One coat of primer, and then 2 coats of roll.
Perfect. Osvaldo, how long have you been doing this? When did you start your company?
Almost 20 years.
So you're a pro.
Yes.
I met Osvaldo. I was actually selling a house in his community. Got to meet him, and after that, I started getting him into the houses that we're actually selling, so he can make them ready, basically fix them, so we can sell them later on for a higher price. One of the things that I like about Osvaldo is little things like this that make a huge difference, right? Being clean. Everything that he does is really clean, really professional. The quality is there, which is something that I really appreciate. And obviously the prices are just right. So if you're looking for somebody, a lot of people can do this, right? But people like me sometimes don't have time. If you're looking for somebody, give me a holler. I'll get you in contact with Osvaldo. Another thing that Osvaldo is really, really key on is once he does the work, everything, the entire house, if you're not completely satisfied, the job is for free. Right, Osvaldo?
Yes.
I was supposed to be
No, I said yes, but I'm now.
Osvaldo, anything else that you want to say?
Well, just make sure to clean all the floors. Put drop cloths before you start rolling. You need to put drop cloths, tape, and the vapor like this one. If you don't want to mess it up the vapor, just put a little bit tape right here and start rolling.
That is our highlight for today. Hope you all enjoy. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. And it's always great to meet new people, meet new vendors, and be able to highlight their work. So thank you so much for that. This week, our topic is actually single parenting, and single parenting comes in a lot of different forms. Sometimes that can be, a parent where there's still a married couple, but one of them is like travels all the time, so you can feel like a single parent. And then there's single parenting where you're sharing custody, right? So there's some back and forth, but when you have the kids, it's just you. And then there's like the single parenting where like you're the only parent. So we've invited Adriana to join us. She has some experience with this, and she's a rock star. So really, I think my first question to you is, and it's probably a hard one, which is just, what do you find to be the greatest challenge of like the kids going back and forth and all that? Like, is there one thing that you're just like, oh, this is the thing?
Well, at the beginning, I think like the idea of having the father away, the kids suffer because of that, and you suffer with them. You don't know what to do or say to make them feel better. You try your best to do, like in a daily basis, like everything. And sometimes you find out that they're sad, or they miss the dad, or they want to go, or the dad is not calling or not showing when he's supposed to show. And to deal with that sadness of a kid, I think is the hardest, because it's something that you just cannot replace. I mean, you're the mother. I'm talking about myself. I'm the mother, and I know kids are close to the mother and everything, but still, the dad is a very important figure. And since I have a 9-year-old, he's getting older, and he notices, for example, that so he notices that the dad is just communicating every 2 weeks. He never calls like in the middle of those 2 weeks. He has some things that he wants to share with them, He just won spelling bee. Let me share that with you.
Yay!
He just won the contest. Yeah. And he was like,
Awesome.
oh, thank you. So, and he was like, oh, I'm going to call my dad, to tell him. And the dad was not even responding the phone. I'm sorry, answering the phone. So, I think that is the hardest. I mean, there's so many challenges, like, daily basis, like to do everything by yourself is so tiring. But the emotional thing for me is the hardest thing to handle.
There, it's hard no matter what. Because if
Yeah.
you've got, the co-parent that is not responsive and not there, I mean, I used to see that as a teacher a lot, and that was really hard.
I have both scenarios. I'm sorry I interrupted you because
No, please.
I have both scenarios because, I have two kids from two different dads. And I have both, the oldest kid dad, like he's never here, he doesn't care, to be honest with you. He just comes here every 2 weeks and just, like, and still my kid just found, like he found a way to have a healthy relationship with the dad. He understands now that he's going to see him every 2 weeks and that's it. And then I have the father of my youngest. He's going to turn 2 years old, my baby, right? And this dad is amazing. Like he actually fights for more time with the kid. He wants to see him every day. He wants to take him, like every weekend. And it has been, like we need to negotiate because still I need time, like a weekend with my kid. I have activities on the weekend or whatever. But I really like that about him because he's very involved. Yesterday, the baby had his first festival, as I told you. And he, like the baby is 2 years old. He did anything, he was just stand up there trying to sing, you know. And the dad lost the whole day of work, like he missed work and he didn't care. He was like, this is amazing, I'm here, like enjoying with my kid, and he didn't even care, which is super cool. And but the hardest for me in my situation is that the oldest gets to see this. He gets to see that the other dad is very involved with the brother, and he wishes he could be this close to his dad. But it depends on the person. So I had, like the two worlds, and I see the differences between, and so I need to work more with my oldest kid to make him understand, like that is busy. Because yeah, that's another reality. Let me tell you, the father of my oldest, he's
I'll be
entrepreneur.
right back. I am so sorry to interrupt. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So he owns a business. He's a very successful businessman. He travels around the world. He's a very important guy, right? So he has no time for his kids. And then I have this other person that is a very, like regular guy with his regular job. I'm not saying nobody's better, but I think it has to be with their own vision of a family, like this second guy, he's more family oriented. Like his job lets him be more close to his son. He has a schedule, so he finishes work. He asked to his work, like he asked to finish earlier so he can cross the border because he works in the United States. So sorry, he crossed the border to be with a kid more hours a day, right? Which is super cool. But then the other one looks at it and it's just like, oh, I'm not seeing my dad like in 2 weeks. And I called him and he's not answering back. That is sad.
I wonder how much, and I feel like this would be a whole nother topic, really. I wonder how much, like, just gender stereotypes, right? Because when I think back, I'm in my 50s. So growing up, it was still not that far from the era of, the moms were the nurturers, caretakers, the dad brought home the bacon kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of the whole men can't be sensitive. They shouldn't be super sweet and caring with their kids. Like that whole thing. I think society is shifting and changing. We are
Yeah.
seeing that men are getting more comfortable with their emotions. You are
Mhm.
seeing them, expressing that and building stronger emotional relationships. So I'm wondering, my hope, I guess, is that this will shift, that like
Yeah.
for our kids, if they end up having to be single parents at any point,
Yes.
hopefully will it be easier?
Yes.
Because, we had this whole topic with my daughter on feminism. And she talked about how, the government should really reflect the people, right? So there should be a lot more women and a lot more people of color. But the
Mhm.
real reason traditionally why there have been less women in government is because the women were taking care of the kids.
Of the
Like
kids.
that's
Exactly.
just the way. Um, but that doesn't have, I mean, we grow them in our bodies. Sometimes we feed them from our bodies afterwards. Like that part is uniquely feminine, but the rest doesn't have to be. And so I think it's, I don't know, would you say, I guess my question then is like, would you say between the two dads, is
Mhm.
one more like traditional, like I'm a man, I'm bringing
Exactly.
home the money, and the other one is more kind of like sensitive?
I don't get to judge any of those men because they are, a result of their, families systems and the the businessman, he's a provider. He was built and raised to be a provider, and he's an amazing provider. He still is with me and my kid. He helped us a lot in a money area, like you need to be comfortable and you need to have the best things in the world, and I'm working to have, like to leave this company to my kid, right, to my son. That's his idea of being a dad. So
Right.
that's why I try to talk to my son and try to make him understand the way his daddy looks at life, and
Right.
he's doing his best, the best that he can, because that is the only way that he knows how to do things. And then the other guy is more, he thinks that work is important, but it's not the most important part in our
Mhm.
lives, right? So he has this job and he's okay with it, but he needs to live and he needs to, like be close to the family, be close to the kid. And so they both are completely against, like the racing type of
Yeah. So you
very.
literally have both
Yeah,
types.
so I don't get to talk about them in a bad way at all, because at the end of the day,
That's
they
also not your
are.
personality, though. You would never
No,
do that. That's just who you
and
are.
then when you talk about your a dad in a bad way, you are hurting your kids,
Yes.
not the dads. They don't care. You are hurting your kids. So, you asked me, what is the hardest part? I think another hard part is when you are heartbroken and you need to move on and you need to keep going, and you don't want your kids to see you struggling. So then you have to wait until night, until they go out, and they go to
Yeah.
sleep, to express your emotions. And it happens like every day, because things are hard. And when you are doing things by yourself, when you are alone, it is hard. So I think that is the hardest also.
Well, okay. So I want to ask you a question that actually kind of terrifies me, which is, I mean, it must be painful then, right? When there's other women in their lives,
Yeah,
right?
well,
Other people around your kids.
I think that changes everything. Like, Um, you can see both dads. The differences. The first one, he's already with someone else. And when he started his relationship with this girl, she was my friend, as I told you once. He stopped caring about my kid, like he started like focusing on his new family. The few minutes that he has in a day, he was like, like completely paying attention to his new family. So, and the second ex-husband, he's single, so he has all the time to his
Right.
dad. So it is hard when it's another person involved, because it comes this kind of thinking like, oh, you're gonna go with your kid again. Oh, this weekend you have to share it with my family, with our family, not with your former family.
What's wrong, David? Sorry.
I am warming up a bottle. So I'm going to excuse myself one more time.
It is
And I'll
not
be right back. But I have like a freaking ton of questions. So
okay.
stop it. I'll be right back.
No problem.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. I just saw him going like this, and I was like, "What?
It's
Like,
fine. No, I'm
touchdown?"
sorry.
No, that was and I know. Well, actually, I just want to bring up the one other thing I wanted to mention, because since clearly David's got a lot of questions coming your way, but I wanted to put a focus on you for a second. So again, I spoke with my friend, and I think people realize that it can be hard to keep the kids like on the same schedule from place to place, and if issues arise, you want to chat and talk about, okay, how are you handling it, so that there can be consistency. And it can be really hard if there's any animosity between the parents. I can't even imagine. But the one thing that I had not thought of was that my friend said that, they, it's their own schedule gets really jacked up, right? So that when they don't have the kids, they kind of fall into this weird pattern where they like stay up late and then maybe sleep a little later. And so their own like circadian rhythm shifts. And then all of a sudden when they're with the kids again, it's like a jolt back into the routine. And I had not thought about that, because I think that probably would be my tendency.
Yeah, it is.
You think
It's a nightmare, Kristin, because I was looking the other day. I had this, I admire an American influencer. Her name is Kristina Kumlik. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. And she talks about this kind of situations very often, like she's a single mom and then she remarried, and, like all the struggles around this situation. So she was giving us an advice. And when I saw her, everything changed, it changed in my mind. So yeah, it's a struggle, because when you leave the kids to go to the other house, they completely forget about all their routines. They started eating, like things that you don't give them in a regular basis, like in a daily basis. They stay up late, and they, like all their routine is just go to hell. And then when they come back, you as a mom, you want them to be immediately in the other routine, you just want them to behave and to do everything. And so Kristina said, okay, why don't you just take that day, if you get your kids on a Sunday, why don't you just take a Monday as a jet lag day? Do you know, like when you travel, you get this jet lag to travel to another country, right? You need a day to adjust. So to do nothing and just to stay calm and, I don't know, sleep and be relaxed. So she said, you do that with your kids. Like the next Monday, you stay a little bit more relaxed, because it's for the kids is like a shock, it is a shock for you, but for them, they're just coming from another house, another rules, another people, maybe the wife, for the father's wife, or the wife's kids, some other stuff, they fight the kids. That is the case of, like my oldest, he has two, it's not even step brother and sister, because those kids are the wife's kids, not his kids. I don't know how to explain that. Like, so they call them, this, I don't know how to explain it. So this guy asked my kid to call them brother and sister. He's your brother and she's your sister. And my kid is just like, they're not my brother and sister, because they are not even my dad's kids, and it's not, they are not your kids, mom. Why do I have to call them brother and sister? You know, and I have to explain that every time they go, and that dad is just, oh, why are you not calling him, as a brother? He's your brother. Well, and my kid is just like, so it's so confusing for my kid, right? So every time he goes there, my Mondays are very relaxed, like I don't expect him to feel better immediately. I don't expect him to work in the daily routines again, and I have to start over. So
Do you sorry, one last question, David.
yeah.
So my question about that too is I often wonder, do you struggle with what I nickname sort of like the party parent syndrome? So where when the parent maybe doesn't see them quite as often,
Mhm.
then feels like their time with them has to be like a Disneyland
Fun.
trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think even if you're really like sharing custody, I think it if it was me, I think I would feel the pressure to make every moment that I had like a
Mhm.
positive memory, you know?
Yes.
Because it it was just such a challenge because you know what? That's not real life. It's just
It's
not real
not.
life.
It's not. There's like many issues involved in this kind of situation. For example, when your money situation it's different, right? Like the businessman, he's rich, so he can take this kid to every single part of the world, and he takes him to Disneyland like every month, things that I cannot do. And sometimes, the kid is just like, oh, mom, why are you not taking me to Disneyland? I want to go to Disneyland this weekend. It's just like, who goes to Disneyland like every weekend? Oh, your dad and his family. So, yeah. At the same time, um, it is hard for my kid to understand that, as you said, that is not life, but is a life that he might want. But then when he gets it, and then the father is absent, because he can be giving money, and he can be, like giving, like a trip, whatever. But then he realized, because he's getting older, he realized that he's alone. When he goes to his dad's house, he stays with the kids and with the wife, because this man is always working. So he's like, for example, if I ask him, what did you do this weekend? How did you get, like, it was funny or it was fun? He was like, yeah, but I didn't see my dad at all. Like just 2 hours, like in 3 days. And then I think, why did you take a kid to be with you, right? Like why? If you're not gonna pay any attention to the kid, like, why is it like, because you have to, because you are obligated to, because that is not a quality time for my kid. So maybe it's money or trips or toys or whatever, but not that, communication with the parent, which is sad.
I saw something happen and it changed with our second and third child, but with our first child, um, he didn't have tenure yet. He was working, he had his like university teaching job, but then he was working every other odd job just to try and support us because we really, really didn't want to send Kayla to daycare if we could avoid it, right? But it put a lot of the burden on him.
Mm-hmm.
But as Kayla was getting a little bit older, so just out of the toddler years, she so longed to connect with her dad. And Tom's a great dad. This is not a dig in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But what I remember specifically is that he would just talk, he would talk about buffalo wings all the time. He's from Buffalo. So he would talk about buffalo wings and how he loves buffalo wings. And he would talk about football, how he loves football. He loves hockey. And so Kayla's hobbies as like 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old were, I want to try hot, spicy foods with dad. I'm going to watch football with dad. I'm going to watch hockey. And it occurred to me that she wanted so badly to have that quality time with her dad. I think in her little brain, she realized that if she latched on to some of the things that he really loved, that it was going to make it easier for her to have that quality time with him.
Yes.
Now, he was not as busy for the boys, and they still developed things that they have in common. They still have their things, which I think is great. You know, they have their things that they love and do together. But there was a little bit of sadness when I realized that I think at the time Kayla was nervous about just so like a sponge. She so desperately wanted time with Tom that she was just going to morph herself to be as much like him as possible to try and gain that time. And that's like we were happily married, and you know, so I can't imagine how much harder that would be in a situation.
Yeah, for example, my kid, he has never been like a technological, you know, like this virtual and gamer, like a gamer. He has never been, right? Like he's a sporty boy. He loves sports and he loves, you know, and he started playing Fortnite and mention any, you know, like Among Us and all this kind of video games, because he find out that he can play with his dad.
Yeah.
And he, when he goes there, he connects with his dad because his dad is an IT guy, right? He's very technological. He develops video games, just imagine. So he's very like in the technological oriented, and my kid became you know, like a gamer. And then when I was against that, because I'm not, you know, I don't want my kid to be all day on,
Right,
you know,
right.
playing video games or in his iPad or computers. And for example, this guy, he's very like into gadgets, right? So my kid has computer, iPad, how do you say this, PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever. And he has a laptop, and then he has this huge, you know, like screen. And so you get into his room, and he's like a gamer room, and he wasn't a gamer, and he became one to be closer to the dad. And I don't know if it's good. I didn't even know how to stop that, because then I saw my kid very happy playing with the dad, and then he connects sometimes on the evenings in a regular week. And I was like, oh, they are connecting this way. Like,
Yeah.
it is hard. That is my conclusion. Like, it is hard in many ways. Yeah.
David. Questions.
Taking it in. I've just been taking it in because it's interesting hearing different point of views, right? Especially from somebody that's living it. It's not only living it, it's also living it with two completely different scenarios.
Yes.
Which is really, really interesting. I guess my question is, and this is more general, Adriana, not really specific to you, right? But let me bring it a step back. And I guess the question is, do you think, number one, government should be involved in regards to how much time you get to spend with your kid? Basically deciding between you and your ex or your husband at the time, because, you know, some people are separated only. So is that fair for somebody else to decide that?
In what way can you?
You mean like custody agreements kind of a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, are we gonna get there?
Again,
We're gonna talk about custody. Oh my God.
Well, I wanna make sure that we're not talking about you. I'm talking general, because this could be also a question for Kristin, right? Like, how involved does government need to get when government's really not living with you, when government really doesn't know the issues? Because all they hear is, you know, you have I'm giving you a real example. You have a person that's got a lot of money that can afford really good lawyers.
He did. It was a nightmare, David. It was
No, no,
a
no.
nightmare, you know.
But again, it's not just you, right? There's
There's so many,
so many
yeah,
people.
yeah.
And then at the same time, people forget that, hey, we're not here to fight between husband and wife. It
Mhm.
is really for the kids.
Yeah,
Sometimes I see, and let's be real here. Most of the time, the person that keeps custody is the mom,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. So let's agree with that. Most of the time, not always.
Mhm.
But when that's the case, the mom, even if she's at fault, even if she's a lady that just wants to go party, she really doesn't really care about having that much time with the kid. They're
Yeah.
still fighting for it. Why? Because they just want to take away time from the other parent. And I'm saying the other parent because I just don't want to say the dad. It could be the mom.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
never know where you're going to be. So then you get government involved on top of that. And it's, it gets really nasty.
How can you measure that?
The kid.
I mean, you as a government, how can you find out how people is living? Like, how can you decide what are the metrics to use, like to find this girl, like a good fit, or the dad is a better fit, or they should share together, or how do you decide that?
I agree.
It's hard. In my case, I'm going to talk about, in my case, it was a nightmare at the beginning because he wanted custody. He has a lot of money and he fight for me for custody for 3 years. It was super hard because I don't have the resources. I had to travel to Ensenada every week to the trials, and abandon my work, ask permission to go there and fight for my kid. It was a nightmare. And I was so scared that maybe he could have, like won this case. And he was this close to win it. He couldn't, but it was a very, very, like huge fight. And he said, you know what, Adriana, I have nothing against you, but I can give him a better quality of life, because I have money and you don't.
But,
So
but just let me take it as, I mean, if I may, I want to just add something. It's not so much. I imagine you're talking because I was overhearing when I was
mhm.
getting the bottle ready. You're talking about the dad that has money.
Yep.
Okay, that's not really what kind of quality of life is in terms of, like you said, material stuff.
That's what I thought.
That's
That's what
not
I fought for. I prove that that is not important.
exactly. It's not. I mean, I'm a strong believer that the kids when newborns or 3-year-old, 5-year-old, they need to be with their mom. They need to have that bond. They need breastfeeding. They need so much attention, so much attention.
Yeah.
And again, the parent that's not going to be there, it's just there's
David, it took me 3 years to prove that to government and to judges.
and this is why I keep on saying, like, yes, government, we need it because some cases are extreme cases.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I mean, parents just need to get their shit together and figure out that, hey, it's not, it didn't work out between us. It's fine. You have to accept it. Or I still hate you. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Just
Think about
do
the
the
kid.
right thing. Think about the kid, and the kid needs both parents at the end of the day.
Yes.
If they have it, I mean, that's really the best scenario. And in terms of time, well, again, that's in each case is different, right? I guess you guys brought up a really good question in terms of the other party having another significant other involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you talking about it just briefly. This I mean, what do you do when your kid doesn't really have the feelings for or can't open up to the other parent?
It is very hard.
And it could be your case as well in terms of you having already somebody else, right? And
Yeah. At the beginning, he left home for someone else, right? So he disappeared from my kid's life for 2 years. He was completely off, um, you know. And then he went back, and he realized that he wanted to be close to his kid. And since I never talk bad about him with my kid, like I never said anything wrong or bad, so the kid has no bad feelings, right, about his dad.
I mean, I
he
respect that.
I told him that he was traveling, that he's an important man and he was traveling, and so the kid understood. He was 2 years old and he was very aware of everything. He already talked back then. He was, like a very small kid, but very talkative. And we were talking back then, and I was like, Hugo, your dad is traveling. So he kept that idea. And then when the dad came back, he it was hard for both of them, like to
Bond.
bond again. But kids, they are super, you know, caring and loving
And always,
human
always looking
beings.
as well, like Kristin was talking about, like always looking up to their parents. And
Yeah.
again, it's a hard topic, and I mean, getting into all the details now in terms of you right now being a single parent, man, how do you deal with it? Like, if you didn't have your mom, if you didn't have family around you, dude, how do
how
you
I how I
manage?
do it with because of my support system. I am blessed because I have this amazing family, and I also have friends that are my family, is the family that I chose. They have been with me for the past 30 years, and they are very, very supportive. Like they have been in my worst, and they can come here every day if I need to. And they talked with my kids and they play with them, and they took me to, like distract my mind, like just to feel better. And the same with my mother. I cannot imagine, like this process without her. Like, yeah. And I had to find a strength in within, like in myself also. That's why I do work every day in myself, because at the end of the day, you cannot depend on someone else, right? Like they are very supportive, and I really love them, but they have their own lives, their own schedules, their everything. And I cannot depend on what they do or say, or to be cool and to be okay with me. So I really work on that every day to be okay for my kids. But it's the hardest part,
Yeah,
I
you're
guess.
gonna have to be strong on that. I did want to ask, when you do get to, as a single parent, I guess you plan your weekends when both kids are with their dad.
Yeah.
Right. So then you do get to go out and enjoy yourself a little bit, right?
Yes. Yes, I do. I rest, I sleep. Yeah.
Spa.
I go out, like with my friends. I go to Valle de Guadalupe. I love him.
I
I
heard,
love that.
I heard that's the new life of the rich now.
Yeah. I have rich friends. They take me there every time I want.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I love it. It's just, yeah, to be honest with you, those days are the ones that makes me kind of reset
Gotcha.
for the
New batteries,
next.
recharge your
Yes,
batteries, like
exactly.
they call it.
Yes.
So now that when you're living that single life,
Mhm.
how's the dating world work for you as a single parent now? Like, because that must be difficult as well, right? We were just talking about stepmoms and this. Is it I don't know. How you tell me, how's the dating world work?
I don't date. End of the story. I don't date. Well, when I got divorced the first time, of course, I was heartbroken and I was completely unwilling, like I didn't want to date at all. And then I didn't date. This guy, my second ex-husband, was my friend. We've been friends for the past 20 years. So I wasn't even thinking about meeting new people. I didn't want to, But then he was very close to me, and he was in this process with my first ex-husband, and it was in my life.
This happened.
I wasn't, like trying. I remember once I was in a restaurant with my friends, and they were like, okay, we're gonna open Tinder for you. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and so, because David, when you experience something like this, you get traumatized, to be honest. You get very scared, and you have to fight with all your insecurities, and so you don't feel, well, I'm going to talk about myself. I didn't feel like, ready to meet another man and to trust another man.
Who's gonna be close to your kids?
Exactly.
Your exes are gonna have the same question, right? Like, who's around my kids?
Exactly.
Now, imagine if you had girls.
Imagine. Thank God I have boys, and still it was a nightmare for me to think of getting someone in my house,
Yeah.
And he was my friend. I trusted him with my heart. And he was very good with my kid at the beginning. That's why he convinced me to even think about him as a partner, Yeah. For me, he was my friend. I didn't even think about dating him like at all. And then I started seeing he was very good with my kid. And remember, my kid has no male figure. Like, his dad lives very far. He doesn't look him, he's not around. So when I saw my kid getting along with this new man, they were playing sports together. They were doing this, like father son stuff.
Really...
I think that's what convinced me, to be honest, because I was so scared. And it happened 4 years after I got divorced.
Yeah.
So I wasn't ready, and no.
So I
dating life for me at all.
I see Kristin on the other side being extremely, extremely quiet, and that's probably because I get to spend some time with you. She already spent some time with you, so I think, Kristin, now we can share custody of Adriana together.
Yeah, Dad.
I'll be right back, though. I'm gonna become that friend. I'll be right back. So I'm just gonna go check on the little one. So
of course.
I'll be right back.
It's Kristin's turn.
Yay! Yeah, I mean, I just more than anything, I want to really just tell you that I really do admire you.
Oh.
I
Don't make me cry, please.
We love you, and you are a great human and a great mom.
Thank you.
My memory of having kids like the same age that yours are now, I just remember being exhausted all the time, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that you have your mom around and you have good friends. We had really great friends, but we lived really far away from our parents, which was hard. But that it brought up another thought, which is, I think people don't often realize it's not even just the parents, right? Like, if there's a split and then there's custody back and forth, that also can it can affect the grandparents too. Like, I saw that happen to my parents, where they felt really pulled away from their grandkids when things started turning south, right?
Yeah.
And how hard and painful that was. So it's just such a complicated thing. But I think to stay as positive as you do, it takes a lot of maturity, and it takes a lot of selflessness to be able to put your child ahead of your own heart and feelings. And
yes.
So
now that you're talking about the grandparents, for example, my mom, she has been so close to us, right? My kids are very, very close to her, and they love her like amazingly. So in both of my divorces, like in the act, I don't know how you say this form that they give you at the end of the day, at the end of your divorce, I asked my attorney in both cases to put like a paragraph saying that if I die, I want this both men to promise in some way that they are not gonna keep my kids away from my
From
mother.
your mom, yeah.
And they signed it, and it's notarized, and they are like obligated to do it. I think about it because if you think so, to be honest with you, my biggest fear in life is for me to die, not because of death itself, because if I die, my kids are gonna be separated. They're not gonna grow together. That's my biggest fear, because they love each other so much, and I've struggled every day to have this good family environment. The three of us, we
Yeah,
call
great
ourselves the three
siblings.
musketeers, right? We call ourselves like that. And if I die, they're gonna grow up apart, and I cannot imagine that for them. I'm not gonna be around. For them in their lives, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
So I thought about the grandmother, because she's the only one that can keep the boys together a little bit. So I asked both ex-husbands to promise me, but not a promise, because I don't trust them like that.
Right.
Like to be written, yeah. And they definitely are, because I can imagine how the life could be without my kid's life without his grandmother. So I
And
want her around, involved in, she's a teacher also. She's a kindergarten teacher. So she's amazing with kids. And they are also my kids, so she's more than amazing with them. So I want them with her.
thank you so much for sharing. Your story is really an eye opener for sure.
And I
For a
think
lot
it's
of
going to help people. Just like I want to toss out there, she's also gone viral on TikTok. Especially if you speak Spanish, you got to look her up. What's your TikTok handle? Is it just your name?
Hello, Adriana Tijuana.
There you go. Okay. Because I think it helps. The more people are honest and talk, it helps.
You know what? My TikTok, it talks about these situations. Like I started doing videos exactly to just at the beginning, because it's therapy for me. It's part of my therapy to share and to speak, and then to help someone. I get comments every day from women. So it just fills my heart with love every single day. Like, thank you for sharing. I'm going through the same situation. Thank you for helping us understand that we are because when you are divorced, sometimes you lose your worth as a woman. Can you imagine being divorced twice? It has been so hard for me to understand that those divorces are not defining me as a person. They don't. But I have to work with myself on that. So if I can help people to understand that and don't lose their value, as a person,
personal.
I'm gonna do it. That's why I opened this TikTok.
Well, I think it's great. And I mean, hopefully people will see this too. Yeah. But we love you. We're so happy to have you on our team and our family.
I love you too.
So we're grateful and always here for you. I know I'm not anywhere close to you physically, but with technology, we're so close. So
way.
exactly.
Yes.
But next time we're going to take a little break just because it's crazy town for me. I've got the show and then I'm going to New York to help my daughter move. But our next topic is actually, it's not going to be a local topic. It can be. It's just sort of like David and I are going to be talking a little bit about our favorite vacation spots. So it just so happens New York City is thankfully, one of my favorite places. So I'm going to
I love it.
Document New York when I'm there and be able to chat about it on our next podcast. But that's the plan. The next one is just to talk about cool. And David's been to some amazing places for vacation. But we would love for you to join our community. If you are enjoying this time with us, join our Facebook group. Hit like and subscribe on Facebook, on YouTube. I mean, anywhere. Like us everywhere.
Like us. You see us
like us everywhere.
So if you see us on the street, just come up to us and say,
we like you.
Please.